r/NoSleep. Posted by Reddit user likeeyedid. I'm playing a game called Smile, but nobody taught me the rules. Part 5. Killian the kitty cat. This boy clearly has very specific intentions going into this game. He was connected to something in here, just as we were. The game had known my real identity from the start. They had talked to me individually, made things personal. There had to be a reason that Killian had his own nickname. He kept saying how this game is targeting me and Lucas, but I had a feeling that he was playing an important role too. Just the actual connection wasn't clear to me yet. We still had many hours left before we could go looking for the carnival, where we would search for the princess. Hours that should be used carefully to get more insight into the game, or to get to know the intentions of our new teammate. It felt awfully difficult, however, to focus on the game when we didn't even know if Haley was alive at this point.
Your friend is long gone. They said it. That bastard teammate of his must have done something to her.
Lucas was grinding his teeth. The scars on his mouth seemed to be healing, and instead of looking dangerous, he appeared sad and fatigued. We don't know what that means. I tried to convince him and myself. I couldn't be thinking of this right now, or I would just break down. I'd known Haley ever since I was a teenager. We grew up next to each other, and worst of all, I was the one who sucked her into this whole mess in the first place when I shared my experience on that kid show with her. She became a target because of me. I took a deep breath. It was time to let my friends in on what exactly I had experienced at the bridge. I was dreading telling him the whole truth because I would be afraid he'd take it wrong. I had saved Killian after all, instead of the person that looked like my friend. His reaction was the complete opposite, however. He got up and hugged me.
Oh, you're a freaking genius. I can't believe you figured it out, that it was an imposter.
Though you really should have believed me when I told you I was at the mall. Well, you didn't make it easy. You've been so secretive.
I've been secretive.
He laughed. What about Haley then? If you weren't so keen on being quiet about everything, then maybe we could have gotten some info out of her.
I mean, honestly, what will we do if she's still playing for the other team?
I swallowed, not sure what to do with the information he just gave me. Still, I finally mumbled, but Lucas stayed silent.
She was already in the game. You didn't join in the official first round. The game has been going on for a while now.
Killian chimed in.
Haley played the game?
Killian nodded. Lucas was still not speaking, but his expression told me everything I needed to know. She got us involved in this, didn't she?
Are you starting to understand that you can't trust your damn friends?
It took us 3 hours to drive to the location of the carnival, which was hidden behind fields in the middle of nowhere. A shimmer of light sparked up the dark fields. The familiar melody, playing on repeat, could be heard from miles away. The three of us had gotten dressed appropriately, and we were wearing our masks. From the distance, it looked like a regular carnival. There was a Ferris wheel, carousels, mirror cabinets, food and game booths. But instead of regular people, everyone except for us was dressed as jesters. Well, not everyone. The rest of the top 5 were spread around that place as well. Nobody approached us though, not before receiving instructions. We kept an eye open, but so far, there was no sign of Haley.
Shoot, all of you made it. How wonderful. The princess is awaiting you, but she is picky. Catch her first,
And don't get pierced. The timer ran out just as we received the message. The round had officially begun. As if they had been simply waiting in the dark, observing us, the first group was walking closer towards us. A group of young kids holding sharp weapons, baseball bats with nails in them, knives and daggers. God, they're just children. What's going on here? I whispered. No fucking clue, Lucas responded. But I'm certainly not gonna attack them. The kids started getting closer, all humming the melody. Wait, I might have an idea, Lucas said. He stepped on the counter of the abandoned booth, standing high up, and with all the volume in his voice, started shouting, "Welcome, welcome. It's time for another adventure." Then he took off the mask. The kids were staring at him with big smiles on their faces, completely mesmerized. "That's Lay," one of them whispered. "Where are we going, Lay? What will we do next?" Another one said. "We did everything you said. What's our next adventure?" They were jumping up and down in glee, one after another. They all let their weapons fall to the ground. We were still trying to make sense of the situation when out of nowhere, a jester who was sitting on the carousel next to us fell right off his horse. A puddle of blood was forming around them. This person had been hit by an arrow right inside their heart. Killian ran over and tried to help. I followed. The other players were still in trance, staring at Lucas. We removed the mask and saw the face of the man about my age. Blood was spilling out uncontrollably. We tried to stop it, to block the wound, but it was already too late. Alright, kids. For the next adventure, everyone will go to look for a hiding place, Lucas said in a shaky voice. As the other players disappeared, he put his mask back on, climbed down, and sat down with us next to the body of the dead jester. "Where did that arrow come from?" I asked, my blood-drained hands shaking. I looked around and didn't see anyone. "Jen," Killian whispered. "Who's Jen?" we shouted in unison. Killian looked me right in the eyes and then said in the most distressed voice, "She's my little sister." And then he turned to Lucas and added, "She's the princess because you bastards made her." Before we could react, another arrow was shot on top of the already dead man. We quickly took a step back. Killian and I ran to the closest booth to us, while Lucas hid behind the ticket shop of a carousel. "Why didn't you tell us?" I shouted after Killian and I had crouched down behind the booth. "Because he was the only one who told her to do it. She watched his videos every day. She already had a tendency to be brutal, but watching him brought out the worst in her. She's so damn young. She doesn't even know what she's doing." He was almost crying. "And then a few months ago, she just disappeared. I knew it had something to do with the game, and so I joined to find her. It took me a while to figure out that she wasn't a player, but a game piece. She's a fucking level." Okay, Killian, slow down. Jen was brainwashed into becoming the princess of the game?" He nodded. "There's something about her, something that isn't quite right. She's very susceptible to messages of pain and torture, and somehow Lay activated it again. It's like she feels no remorse, but I could swear it's not her fault. If I could only get to her, I could..." "Over there! The arrows are coming from the Ferris wheel," Lucas was shouting from the other side. "I think she only shoots at the very top. We need to hurry." Killian didn't even think before jumping up and running towards the wheel. The space in front of the Ferris wheel was full of jesters, dancing around and laughing. More kept coming from different directions, all wearing masks, but none of them did anything. They wouldn't even acknowledge us. Killian was already in front of the Ferris wheel. He jumped inside one of the open wagons at the bottom, and then the wheel continued turning. Soon, the princess would be on top again, shooting her arrows. Lucas and I were just behind, fighting our way through all the jesters that kept appearing. Before we could get to the Ferris wheel, however, the princess was back at the top, and her sharp arrows were flying through the air. This time, she was hitting random jesters around us. Not a single arrow was directed at us. "Killian, you need to get her, quick!" I shouted. These jesters were all innocent players, brainwashed into this game. So far, they weren't even trying to hide from the shots. Bodies were falling all around us. The situation was so surreal for me at that moment, I almost put my guard down. I was so distracted that I didn't notice the jester standing next to me was not quite like the others. Not until I felt that cold knife against my throat. "Haley?" I asked. The jester laughed and shook their head. And then, they pointed towards another jester standing at the bottom of the Ferris wheel. This one was holding a gun and pointed it towards the Ferris wheel. At first, I thought they wanted to shoot the princess, but that wasn't their target. While the princess was shooting arrows, Killian had almost climbed all the way up. He was so close to getting to his sister, but just like that, he collapsed inside the wagon. Blood dripped from the wagon as the Ferris wheel continued moving again, and finally finished the turn. As it stopped, the princess walked out with a big smile on her face. One of the jesters took her by the hand, and they disappeared into the darkness. I tried to look for Lucas to see what he was doing and why he wasn't helping, but I couldn't spot him anywhere. He was just gone. And slowly, everyone else was leaving as well, until the carnival was empty, except for one other jester and myself. The jester then took a step back, put the knife away, and removed their mask. "Don't worry, Alex. I'm on your team,"